Hi, glad you've joined me. I'm Kelly Comisher. I'm glad you're going to life design with me. And this is the kickoff to week 2. So the first thing we need to do is celebrate. We have been after our 90-day goal for a whole week, and we are about to kick off our second week toward our 90-day goal. And the first thing that we do at this stage of a new week is we pause. We pause and we take a few minutes to have a meeting with ourselves. There are a lot of different business books that talk about the value of that 15-minute stand-up meeting between leaders that just takes an assessment of where are we today, how are we doing, and the value of knowing the current atmosphere, where we're on target, where we're not on target, how are we feeling, and what are we going to do this week in terms of priorities. So I want to encourage you each and every week, have a 15-minute stand-up meeting with yourself. Take time to reflect back on last week and to see how things are going, and use that information as you design the upcoming week. Now, if you're using the Unique Planner or the Unique system, you know that we have a weekly reflection guide, and we'd love to make that available to you as a download. So check out the blog for a link to that download. And if you aren't, that's okay too. Just find a way to take time to look back on the week. So the first thing that we like to do is to take an inventory of how we're doing in our different storylines, which just means the different ways in which we're walking out our calling in our health, in our love, in our work, in our play. How are we with respect to our relationship with the Lord? Are we merely surviving right now? Like, it's just difficult to hear from Him. It's difficult to feel and know His voice and to be in His presence. Are we reviving? We're coming out of a season where it was challenging, but we're starting to reconnect to that life and to that relationship. Or are we in a season of thriving? And we want to be able to name those, because it's so awkward, right? When we're at the grocery store and someone says, "How are you doing?" And you get a little paralyzed. You're like, well, there's certain things that are going really well, and there's certain things that aren't. Well, this gives you a way to say, well, in my work life, things are just okay. At home, they're really good. And with my family, with my relationships, the people I love and care about, we're doing well there. But I'm not really getting time to do the things that I enjoy. So my play life is barely surviving right now. So it just gives you a way to be able to say some things are going great, some things aren't, and to be able to evaluate that. And once you've done that, I encourage you to look back on last week and say, all right, where was I successful in accomplishing the things that I set out to accomplish with respect to my 90-day goal? And because it was our first week, it might have been something that this was fresh and it was new, and so you were all over it and you got everything done. Or for some of you, maybe more like me, it was the first week, so it was a little harder. It was changing habits, redirecting energy, and trying to find my way into this new rhythm of a new goal. And so it was kind of hard. Where were you successful? And can you see, is there anything around that success that you want to make sure you put in place for the next week? So for example, the days in which you were successful in achieving your goals, was those because you did it first thing in the morning? But the days in which you put that effort in the afternoon or in the evening, it didn't get done? Well, that's a clue that we want to prioritize mornings. Or were there times in which, or things in which happened that you thought, every time this happened, I fell off the goal wagon? So we want to reflect on that. Are there patterns emerging? Are there things that you can see about your energy as it waxes and wanes during the day? I actually just read, as a sidebar, this really interesting piece of research by a psychologist on morning people versus night people. And this is an encouragement to all you night people, that the early bird gets the worm really is only true for people who are truly morning morning people. That some of you, and I am totally a morning person, but some of you actually do your best work, your best thinking, and your creativity roars to life at night. And you night owls have an incredible ability to produce and to enjoy those evening hours. Well, that's great. If you know that about yourself, embrace it and design your week coming up where the goals that you need to pay attention to are allocated to those times in which you are going to be at your best. As you work through the weekly reflection guide that we've provided for you, or the one that you're using just for yourself, that you've created for yourself, like in my planner, I will look back and say, was I able to allocate time to the tasks that were most important to me? And is there anything I need to bring forward to this week? It just didn't get done last week, and I need to roll it forward. Am I disappointed by that? And if so, why? Or why not? And to be able to understand what I could do differently this week. Also want to make sure that we are definitely listening to God, that this is a time of reflection. So what do I hear God saying to me about my goal that I've set, about the way in which I'm approaching it? Is there something that the Lord is working in me that I wanted to capture and write down or to ponder at this time? These are all really good questions. So again, you've got 15 minutes here, 15-minute stand-up meeting with yourself to really take a look back on last week and to assess and evaluate. And then once you've done that, then we want to look forward and plan our week. And again, if you life design with me, you're going to know I'm all about your real life. So look at your actual week that's coming up and take into account appointments or obligations, responsibilities that you know are going to be on the calendar, and assess how that's going to impact your life. So for example, this week I have an appointment at the car dealership for a maintenance and repair. That's going to be a half-a-day adventure. It's actually a recall notice. So it's going to be a half-a-day adventure, and I need to plan around that. I can't just think that my rhythms are going to be in place. They're not. That's going to be an unusual big half-day event in my week. Maybe you have something coming up this week as well. It could be vacation days, or meaning like days in which banks are closed and kids are out of school. Maybe your office is closed. Maybe you have doctor's appointments or something you need to do. So look at your real calendar and assess how that's going to impact your rhythms. Also want to do a second activity, which I'll dive deeper into this week, which is prioritize your tasks. If you look at the week, there's probably 100 or 1,000 things you'd like to get done. We encourage you to pick the 5 most important things that you need to do this week in order to be successful and to feel really good about the week. Those may be directly related to your 90-day goal, or indirectly related, as I spoke about last week. In other words, they may be heavy lifts that move you toward your 90-day goal. These could be related to a 90-day goal that is perhaps not something that is daily. I wrote about an example of a 90-day goal of a student right now who's talking about applying for summer internships, or it could be in the fall applying for college. That's not necessarily an everyday activity, but there's certain benchmarks that come up, and this week might have one of those big benchmarks. And if so, we need to name it. We're not going to miss that in our week. So pick those things, those 5 things that this week we need to do, need to pay attention to above all else. Write those down. And then also get prepared to name those what we call now rhythms, so the rhythms that you're going to practice this week, and adjust as necessary. So if you have a physical one related to exercise or diet, and maybe you're not feeling well or you're injured, you might need to adjust the rhythm of the number of times you practice that now rhythm or how you practice it. Whatever you need to do, go ahead, name those, what days of the weeks you'll be practicing those, how you'll be practicing them, and you'll be able to go from there. All right, so then finally, we want to turn this all over to God in prayer and just say, Lord, walk with me, be with me this week. Excited to be on the journey together. I will be here every single day to give you a tip and some encouragement. Excited for week 2. Don't give up. Let's do this week and 90-day goal together.